Thanks, Don. Congratulations, Edie. Wonderful. Okay, guys. You all have your programs, right? You know who I'm going to introduce. Uh, Governor Walker, as I mentioned before, did something extraordinary, and that was actually govern as he campaigned. But beyond that, let me tell you what he could have done. Y'all know what Act 10 did. Y'all know the great savings that we've already begun to bank. The fact that our taxes, in many cases, went down because of those changes. This is what the governor could have done. He could have said, boy, look, guys, we got a $3.6 billion budget deficit. It's not my fault. It's that clown who came before me. It's what the Democrats like to do all the time, isn't it? It's all Bush's fault. I know he hasn't been in office for 3 years, but it's all his fault anyway. You know how they do? So he very simply, because this is a very classic political thing that guys do, that politicians do. Not my fault. Don't blame me. This is what the governor could have done. He could have said, look, we got a $3.6 billion budget deficit. It's not my fault. I've got limited tools. Here's what I can do. I can hand down $750 million in state aid cuts. Sorry, guys, we don't have the money. And he could have said to local governments, you're on your own. Enjoy. Then local governments would have said, well, geez, I don't know what the heck we're going to do with $750 million in state aid cuts. We're going to have to raise people's taxes and fire a whole bunch of employees. And Governor Walker could have said, look at me. I didn't raise property taxes at the state. I did exactly what I went to Madison to do. I said I wasn't going to raise taxes. He could have sat down. He could have delivered the exact same dose of medicine that has been given to local communities by governors that have gone many terms before Scott Walker. And he could have said, there's nothing I can do about it. There you go. And everybody would have loved you. They would have. There would be no recall election. Everybody would have loved him. It wouldn't have moved the needle an inch for the future of the state of Wisconsin. It wouldn't have moved us 1 inch toward prosperity, but it would have made you really popular. I didn't raise taxes. I am a great governor. And everybody would have said, well, yeah, it's a recession. He didn't raise taxes. But instead, he chose the more difficult path. In many ways, it was easier, but it was actually more difficult. And he said, well, look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have to roll back on state aid because this is what we have to do because we're in a recession. There's a $3.6 billion budget deficit. I know the other guy left it there for me, but I'm going to fix the problem here. If they're not going to pay their bills, what the heck? I'm the guy who got stuck with the tab, so fine. I'll pay the bills. In the meantime, I don't think it's fair that the taxpayers of the state of Wisconsin actually have to underwrite that gigantic bar tab. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to empower those local communities, and I'm going to say to them, look, this is what we have to do as a state, but here is what you now can do as local governments. You can now feel as if, you can be free of the shackles of essentially what inevitably usually was really bad news coming from the state of Wisconsin. And local government said, wow, now we have no excuse. Now we have no excuse. We can't just point to the state and say, these jerks, this is why we're raising your taxes, because those jerks at the state in Madison, all they did was cut our funding, and now we got to raise your taxes. What do you want from us? No more excuses. That's what you teed up in the state of Wisconsin. No more excuse government. Isn't that wonderful? Think about it. You can't roll the people of Wisconsin anymore after Governor Walker. You can't get away with it. So whatever you might say, always remember that there is going to be one single reason why all of us are basically being the ultimate bulldogs and our representatives. It's you. It is. And I mean, bringing good government to Wisconsin, in addition, bringing Wisconsin toward prosperity is something I didn't think I would see in my lifetime. So Governor Scott Walker, come on up here.
Thank you. Thank you, Vicki, and I would echo what Brad had said before. Thank you not just for the introduction, but thank you for what you do now, not only in Milwaukee and Madison markets, but in the Chippewa Valley and all throughout the state of Wisconsin. It's kind of exciting to have a voice of sanity all across in many different parts of the state of Wisconsin. First off, I want to say something. Tonette and I are here tonight, and we actually have one of our sons, Matthews, with us. He just got back from a week in Washington, D.C. as part of an AP government class. And for the three of us, as well as our other son, Matthew, I want to say thank you. Say thank you, because people ask me all the time, you know, how do you deal with all the grief? How do you deal with the thousands of people who were bussed in front of your house in Wauwatosa? How do you deal with the hecklers? How do you deal with the tax? Even the kids had stuff on Facebook targeted after them by the out-of-state protesters and other things like that. How do you deal with it? And I saw it again tonight before I came into dinner, and I see it all over the state, not just at Republican events, not just at Chamber of Commerce events, but I see it at factories, I see it at farms, I see it at small businesses where people come up to me, just like I was in the near south side of Milwaukee, and a bunch of factory workers yesterday came up to me, and just like I see so many other places, they said, Governor, we're praying for you. We're praying for you. And I got to tell you, on behalf of Tonette and I and Matt and Alex and my parents and my father-in-law, for all of us, that just makes a world of difference. Because it's always in those moments, you know, when there's a little bit of passion, a little bit of tension going on, and somebody quietly hands you a slip, or somebody grabs you along the way at a factory or at a farm somewhere and just says, we're praying for you. It makes all the difference in the world. So thank you, and many of you mentioned it to me tonight. Keep up the prayers. We appreciate that more than anything. Now I look across this room, and Don, there actually were a few more, because it was standing room only on November 2nd of 2010, which just happened to be my birthday. Many of you joined with me and others, thousands of people from across the state, in this hall when I gave a speech thanking the good people of the state of Wisconsin for having the honor of serving as their next governor, the 45th governor of the state of Wisconsin. And I got to tell you, I'm looking forward on June 5th to giving that same speech to thank the people of Wisconsin again. You see, that night in November of 2010 and again this summer in June of 2012 wasn't about me. It's about all of us who want the government back on the side of the people again and not in the hands of the big government union bosses. You see, I look forward to this opportunity. I relish this. This, for me and for Becky and for the senators, is a chance for us to go across this state and to tell one of the most powerfully positive messages in all the country. We're turning things around. We're heading in the right direction. We're moving Wisconsin forward. Come this summer, probably more than any choice we've had in this state, and maybe more than any choice across this country come this fall, we will have a clear choice when it comes to the election. Do we want to go back to the days of double-digit tax increases, $1 billion budget deficits, and a record job loss? Or do we want to work together and share in the foundation that we built together, a positive foundation to move Wisconsin forward? I say we move forward. You know, come this June, it's a clear choice. Do we want a governor? Do we want a governor who is owned by the big government union bosses and the out-of-state special interests who are driving this recall election? Or do we want a governor who firmly stands with the hard-working taxpayers of this great state? I say tonight, if you elect me again on June 5th, you'll have a governor that firmly stands with the hard-working people of Wisconsin and puts them first each and every day.